Hey guys, it is me, Tanya, or Miss Black Korean Lady on YouTube, and I am here to hopefully help those of you that are trying to decide what school to work at, a public school or a private school. So this video is going to tell you a little bit of the differences between working at a private school versus a public school, just so that you know which type of school is best for you when thinking about working in Korea as an English teacher. The first thing that I want to mention is that at a private school, also known as a hagwon, you tend to get paid more than you would at a public school. And I feel that this is because at a private school you teach for longer hours and you teach at later time. When I worked at a private school, I didn't mind working from the afternoon to the evening, but I think many people don't really like those type of hours, so they prefer working at a public school. So I think because of the scheduling, private schools do pay a little bit more than a public school. Okay, so let's talk about the schedule. So at a private school, it's usually in the evening time. Sometimes if you're teaching kindergartners, it'll be from the normal times, like 9 to 5 type of thing. But if you work with elementary students or middle school students, then you will probably have to work a night shift. So for example, the hagwon or the private school that I worked at, I believe I started at 2:40 p.m. and I worked until 9:40 p.m. Now for me, that wasn't actually that bad because I am not really a morning person. So going into work at 2:40 wasn't even that bad for me. But for some people, that's just too late to be staying at work till almost 10 p.m. But to each their own. Now, as far as a public school, it's usually either 8:30 or 8:40 to 9:30 or 9:40. Again, these times can vary, but at my elementary school, I did work from 8:40 to 4:40, and at my current position, which is a middle school, I work from 8:30 to 9:30. So speaking of middle schools and elementary schools, that's another big decision or big choice you have to consider when looking for jobs here in Korea. So if you're curious to see the differences between teaching at a middle school versus an elementary school, definitely check out my video on my personal channel at Miss Black Korean Lady on YouTube. Okay? Now the other important thing about the schedule between a private school and public school is that at a private school, it's usually like back-to-back classes with very little breaks in between. So the private school that I worked at, it was literally teach a class for 45 minutes, I believe it was 45 minutes, have a 5-minute break, another class 45 minutes, 5-minute break. And I think I had 3 back-to-back, a 30-minute lunch break, and then another 3 back-to-back like that, 45 minutes, 5 minutes break, 45 minutes, 5 minutes break. So it is a little bit exhausting. It kind of feels like a factory type mindset because you're just like in and out and in and out, and it's just like a constant thing. Like you don't really get a chance to sit down and just breathe a little bit. So that's how the hagwon was at my school, the one that I worked at. At a public school, however, I do get a fair amount of downtime. So the most amount of class that I would teach in one day is probably 5. However, I will still have like a few breaks in between each class. So each class in a public school is 45 minutes, or a public middle school, excuse me, is 45 minutes long. And then you will have sometimes like a period off. So you'll teach 45 minutes and then you'll have like an hour break to lesson plan or to just rest and relax or whatever. And this happens often. Or maybe you'll have 2 classes back to back, like 2 45-minute classes, and then you'll have like another break or another period off or something like that. So to me, working at a public school is just a little bit more like just calm, cool, and collected. Whereas at a private school, it's like go, 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 go. And even at a public school, between classes, there's a 10-minute break, not a 5-minute break. So that's also at least a little bit more time for you to just take a breather. The next big difference between private and public schools is that the class sizes can be very different. In my public school right now, my class sizes run anywhere between 25 students to over 30 students, 31, 32 students. However, at a private school, sometimes I will just have 4 students in my class. So it'll run from 4 students to maybe 12 students at most. So it was way smaller class sizes, and I don't know, like I can't exactly say if that's a good thing in my opinion. I do kind of wish my classes that are over 30 students would be like maybe more so in the 20 range, but like I don't know, I just feel like it's something you have to adjust to, or you have to figure out what you like more. So yeah, the class sizes can be a big deal for some people, I'm sure. Like some people might not like having so many students to control and to discipline, or to even stand in front of and talk to, or some people might feel more comfortable with that situation than just teaching 2, 3, 4 students in one class. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next thing, which is student behavior. Now this is something that I didn't expect to be such a big difference, and again, it varies by school, but the students at my private school were little angels. Like, I had almost zero discipline problems. They were there to study. They studied hard. They did their work. They were a little tired sometimes because they are coming to my class after their normal school hours. But other than that, there was really no discipline problems because they knew that their parents were paying for this for them to get a good English education and to, I don't know, pass certain tests or be able to pass certain tests better or whatever the case. So the students that are at a private school are just a little bit more studious sometimes than they are at a public school. At a public school, the students take English class just because they have to. They don't, it's not that they want to or that their parents are paying a lot of money for them to take that class. It's like, it's just another class. So there are students that will attend your English class at a public school that really care less about English, and they just don't even care if they get a bad grade in it because they don't have any type of future plans with using English. So some of you who know a little bit more about teaching here in Korea, you probably wonder if there is a co-teacher that is in the classroom to kind of help with discipline and things. And yes, at a public school, there are co-teachers that are supposed to stay in class with you and either help you teach, help you translate, or help you discipline, or all three of the above. Sometimes the co-teachers can't control the kids either. That is just the reality. Now, private schools don't usually have co-teachers. So at the private school that I taught at, I taught the students on my own. However, I had one other Korean teacher that shared the same students as me. So she would teach the students for an hour, teaching them grammar and all kinds of other stuff. And then I will go in and teach them on my own for an hour, teaching them reading or writing or speaking, whatever the lesson was for that period. So I did have a teacher who I can go to and tell her about the students, and then later on in her class, she's able to discipline them or whatever the case. However, not all hagwons are like that. Sometimes you are just the only teacher for them, and whatever discipline you need to do yourself and take care of. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to talk about are lessons. So at a private school, lessons are basically just strictly by the book. You go through each page and you have a certain time limit to do each section, and it is so, this is first, this next, this is an order, man. Like, you cannot stray from that order, because if you do, you won't have time to finish the content. That wasn't for me, but I know some people kind of like that type of system, and just to have things so organized and to the point so that you don't really have to, you know, worry too much about how you're going to do something. Everything is already laid out for you, so you just know what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it. Now at a public school, you are still using a book. However, you use what you have in the book to make activities and try to kind of make English a little more fun. Whereas at a private school, it's not, there's really no time for fun. It's just, let's study, and, you know, do the homework and get the work done type of thing. At a public school, I feel like the vibe is a little bit more like, let's have fun learning English, if that makes sense. Anyways, with all of this being said, I really hope this video at least helped you a little bit as far as deciding which type of school is best for you between a public or a private school. My experience at a private school here wasn't that bad. There are a whole lot of horror stories about working at a private school or at hagwons, so you really have to do your research if you're looking into working at a private school, and just really check to see how good their staff is, their management is, and also try to talk to some current teachers there if you can, just to really see how well they like it and if they've had any problems with the management there. Like I said, the private school I worked at was not bad. I got paid on time, I got paid well, the management was so nice to me. So it definitely varies. So do your research when you're looking into working at a private school as well as a public school, because some foreigners out there have problems in public schools as well. Anyways, I hope this helps you guys. You guys take care, and I will see you next time. Bye.